right, guys, got a good report for you. DMPs today were Dustin Hopkins, limited participants Terry McLaurin, Ryan Anderson, DeShazer Everett, and Cornelius Lucas. Full participants were Antonio Gibson, Danny Johnston, Dontrell Inman, and Jared Norris. Coach, take it.
Hey, just before we get started, just want to let everyone know that thoughts and prayers are out for Marcus Paul and his family. Marcus is the assistant strength coach for the Dallas Cowboys, who fell ill today of an apparent heart attack. He is at the hospital, and we're praying for him and a speedy recovery. Marcus and I were teammates back in the day with the Chicago Bears. So just wanted to relay that message of thoughts and prayers.
Hey, Ron. Just kind of curious, when you're a player, can you feel the ebbs and flows of a rivalry? Like when one team has a down year, is that apparent, or is every rivalry game pretty juiced up?
Well, every rivalry is pretty juiced up, but you can feel the ebbs and flows. And the one thing that, if you're playing well and they're not playing very well, you could always count on, this being the type of game that could help fire them up. So you've got to approach this game, believing that, hey, they're going to give you their best.
And then, and just kind of away from that, but I'm curious, with your cornerback tandem, just Kendall Fuller and Ronald Darby, how do they complement each other? Is there something that you can do with both of them, that you guys have a pretty good pass defense? So,
well, you feel good about who they are. They're both wily veterans, guys that have been through the ringer. They both know what it's like to have success and have some tough times. But they're both very good football players that play very well. They both have a different style, different type of skill set. But at the end of the day, they're both good players.
Thanks.
Hey, Ron. With Marcus, I know you said you were teammates with him. What do you recall about him as a teammate, the qualities he had and all that maybe stood out to you?
Marcus is a very bright, smart football player. He had good size, good range, good athleticism, a physical football player, just a good teammate, just a good person. And a little bit of a shocker to hear that. So as I said, thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family.
And then switching to football, and it's kind of an odd transition, but their offensive line, how much has it been stabilized with moving Zach Martin out to right tackle? And what does that say about him that he could do that?
Well, a lot of times guys, they move out and by moving a guy out to one spot and plugging in somebody else at that other spot, you might be putting a better football player on the field. And that's potentially what may have happened with Dallas. By moving things around, they may have put a better football player on the field. And so that might be, what has happened with their offensive line.
Hey, Ron, did you see the Alex Smith documentary that was made?
Yep.
I'm just curious what you thought when you saw that, and maybe what he's accomplished by having that made and letting folks into that process.
Well, Alex did it for a couple of reasons, obviously. And I think one of the things was really also highlight, that where he went. I believe that facility in Texas that supports our military. I do know Alex has started a charity that's helping to raise funds for that. And so I know that was part of why he did it. But, when you see that thing and who he is, who I've gotten to know who he is, it doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't, because he's a very competitive guy, very driven young man. And a guy that, when he sets his mind to something, he can do it, he can accomplish it. Says a lot about him individually, and also says a lot about the human body, what the human body is capable of. I mean, it's an amazing comeback story. It truly is. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that, and I'll tell you this. I mean, I had Thomas Davis in Carolina when he went through his third knee surgery and came back to have the career that he's had. So this to me is pretty impressive. Very impressive, in fact.
Not Ben.
Hey, Ron. The other day you offered some praise to your offensive line for the work they did in the last game. And obviously it's been a mix and match situation at times, pretty much across the board, except at center. But by and large, they've hung in there. What does that say to you about this group, not just for right now, but going forward when you look at, to what you guys may have with this group next year?
Well, first and foremost, I think it speaks well to the coaching. Based on what what I know about Coach Matsko and Coach Wharton, it's a good tandem of coaches. They've done a nice job. It says a lot about who these young men are, that they're buying into the style of coaching that they're getting, that they're doing things the right way, that there's a group of young men that are willing to listen, to mix and match, to show some position flex that I talk about a lot. And it also says something about Chase, that Chase hasn't missed. And I think it's one of those things that as you go forward, you just know that, if we can keep these group of guys together and add on, get some guys healthy, that this could be a good group as we go forward. And if that's true, it'll take a little bit of pressure off us as we get into the off season and you start talking about free agency and the draft.
And with regards to Brandon Sheriff, obviously he missed a little bit of time, but he's come back. Just curious what you've thought about him since he returned, and more specifically, like, how do you see a guy who's considered one of the best guards in the league, and how much of an impact does he have on everything you guys are trying to do?
Oh, it has a huge impact on what we're trying to do, mostly because, if you have a guy at a position and you're going to have him there for a while, you don't have to worry about that position. So you feel good about that.
Ron, you guys have been trusting Antonio Gibson down there in the goal line. He's really been excelling there. What about Antonio makes him so good about capping off drives with touchdowns inside of the 5? And when did you first realize you could trust him in that valuable role?
Well, again, we've kind of done it from the beginning. We gave him opportunities in the Philly game, and it's paid off. And because of that, I think that's really what's happened. You get into a game, you really don't know what's going to happen. All of a sudden, he does it. He shows that he's got a knack for the goal line. He's got this innate ability to find that crease, and he runs. He runs behind his pads. I know it's an expression, but he runs with some power. He runs physically. He's not going to get arm tackled. Very rarely does he get arm tackled. So, he's got that skill set that you're looking for in a back. And quite honestly, Peyton Barber has the same type of skill set. So, we're fortunate that we have a couple of backs that do have a good nose for the goal line.
Ron, is there something extra to playing on Thanksgiving? I know you guys have a lot of other things going on in division race and whatnot, but is there something extra you can use? And do you ever remember watching a specific game on Thanksgiving and remembering that and having it stick out in your memory?
Oh, honestly, I mean, Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving, and to get the opportunity to play on it, that's cool. I've coached in them, I've played in them, I've watched them as a kid, I watched them now, and it's just it's more of a tradition, and it's kind of cool to get the opportunity to do it. I did it in 2015 when I was in Carolina. We went down and played Dallas down there, so I think it's a heck of a deal.
JP's not on. We move on to Nikki.
Hi, Ron. I noticed Chase started taking a knee during the national anthem a few games ago. Just wondering if you've had any conversations with him about it, your general reaction to it.
No, I haven't. And again, the biggest thing we have to understand is that it doesn't matter who the young man is that takes the knee. Just the young man is exercising one of his rights, and it's his freedom of expression. So, and freedom of speech. And so, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to know, ask the player. As far as I'm concerned, like I said, they're just exercising one of their God-given rights.
Thanks.
Hey, Ron, this is Darren. I don't know what Thanksgiving will look like because you're on the road, and of course with COVID, it's a little bit different. But I'm just wondering, what will be your favorite Thanksgiving Day dish? And are you kind of like a two-plater kind of guy?
No, I'm one plate at a time. It typically does equal 2, maybe 3. Pretty much anything my wife makes is my favorite. Stephanie's a tremendous cook. She really is. She does a great job with Thanksgiving. I just enjoy the food. to be honest with you, Darren. But like I said, usually it's 2 plates. I would try for 3, but I'm saving room for the pumpkin pie later on.
Thanks, Ron.
You're welcome.
JP, if you're on, you can hop in, then Sam.
Thank you, Ron. One two-plate guy to another. I wanted to ask you about Terry McLaurin, unanimously named captain by his teammates. Now he's been captain a few games. Have you noticed any differences, any more leadership? Has anything stood out?
No, he just continues to lead by example. I mean, he's a tremendous young man who understands and gets things and does things the right way, and that bodes well for us because he's a heck of an example for all the other young guys. You know, we've got a good group of young guys that I like to sit there and point to and just, hey, you know, you can learn from a guy like that, and that's what I try to get across to who they are and who they can become. I said, you want to see something? Watch how he does things. Watch how he's early. Watch how he's out here doing those extra little somethings, you know. But quite honestly, I've seen, you know, the same Terry that I've seen since I've been here, and that's the right kind of young man.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sam?
Hey, Ron, you mentioned Dallas's historic success on Thanksgiving, and I was kind of wondering, do you think that's more a function of them getting to play a home game on a short week every year, or is there something, you know, more like, is there some deal to them, you know, on Thanksgiving?
Well, I think that's part of it. I mean, you know, think about it. You know, you're home. First of all, you're playing relatively early, and you still know that when you're done, you get a chance to go home and have Thanksgiving dinner. Whereas typically the opponent's going to have to get on an airplane, fly home, and get home at 1 o'clock in the morning. And they're wondering if they'll have any extra turkey left over. So that's something I think that does play into it. I really do. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, both teams still have to play on Thanksgiving. Both teams have to line up against one another. And at the end of the day, the better team's going to win.
Got time for 3 more. Reed, Les, and Steve Wino.
Hey, Ron, I was just kind of curious. As it relates to the deep ball with Alex Smith, obviously he has the nickname Captain Checkdown, but I've seen the success that you all have had with the big play. I'm just wondering what's to that, you know, the long throw to Terry this week or the one last week or Cam Sims, just what has helped his team get the deep ball connecting with him behind center?
First of all, that's the first time I heard the nickname Captain Checkdown on him, because he does like to throw the deep ball. I just, you know, I think it's been really the timing of the calls. I think Scotty's done a nice job with the calls, but I do think coming to the line, being a veteran guy with some savviness and kind of looking things over and being able to say, hey, okay, this is my opportunity. I got the right matchup over here. I know last week he threw one to Isaiah, you know, and again, it really is about getting to the line of scrimmage and looking for the matchup. And is that what I'm looking for? Is that what I'm looking at? And then cutting, just cutting it loose. And that's something that, you know, you as a veteran quarterback, you're always looking for. And I think really, and I'm being serious when I said that. I mean, I hadn't heard that nickname as far as he was concerned, and you know, we see it in practice. So it's but I think a lot of it has his savviness and his understanding of coverages. To look at certain elements and say, okay, hey, we got this route combination against that coverage, or I got this matchup versus man.
2 more.
Thank you, Ron.
All righty, Reed.
Hey, Ron, you know, this may be a little weird, but it's something I've always kind of wondered about. When you have maybe something like slow starts in a game, like you have in the last few games, and there's the second half, obviously things are better. Is there something you can tweak? Is there something that you could do, you know, in scheduling and the way you go about your day of game or anything? Would that matter? Does that have anything to do with that, do you think?
I think the truth of the matter is the biggest thing is we got to make plays when we get opportunities. If you look at the opportunities we've had in games to either get off the field as a defense or to put the ball in the end zone as an offense, that to me, I think is really the biggest deal more than anything else. I mean, you know, I could bring a sledgehammer and smash pumpkins. But, you know, to be honest with you guys, it's neither here nor there. A start is a start. Sometimes you finish them off, and sometimes you don't. And we'll see what happens. I mean, we work on things. We work on our scripts. We work on our on our plays. And then we come out in the second half and we call the same plays, we call the same defenses, and we play better. And so we'll see what happens come Thursday.
Thanks.
Hey, Ron, you've mentioned the bend don't break of this defense. What have you noticed in the red zone or close to your goal line that your defense is doing better than other parts of the field?
Well, the only thing I'll say about it more so than anything else is it changes really what an offense can do as well. And I think it kind of suits what we're doing once we get into the red zone.